So, hi guys! Welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be talking about exercise 7 sa atong BioLab journal, the one we bought last week. So, nipalit ko ang libro from the University of San Carlos, and it is the Laboratory Manual in General Biology Bio 02L. So, atong sundan ang atong siya. So, we'll be opening our lab journal to exercise 7. Okay, so exercise 7 is about the external and internal anatomy of a toad. Anatomy. So what is anatomy? Anatomy refers to the study of a structure or organs, and it also aids in our understanding of the bodily function. So frogs and toads belong to a group called the amphibians. So amphibians are kanang mga mo live partly on fresh water and also partly on land. So, okay, so before ta magpadayon discuss about sa frog, dapat ta makabaw sa mga views para mas makasabot mo sa akong iyaw-yaw later on. So, let's say, ano siya? So, muna siya ang frog. So, muna siya ang dorsal view. So, this is the dorsal view. Manang dorsal view mo ninyo makita. And ventral view is here. So, bale. Frog ni, dorsal, ventral. And this part here is anterior. Bali, mao ninyo makita. And then this part is the posterior. So, mao ninyo makita. So, ox. Okay, so now let's go to the frogs and toads. So, the frogs and toads can be divided into two na ilang body. Two regions, the axial and the appendicular region. So, the axial region is composed of the head and the trunk, while the appendicular region is composed of the forelimbs and the hind limbs. So, mag-discuss na further, Ana. No. Okay, first let's go to the axial region. Axial region. Okay, so the axial region is divided into the head and the trunk. So, ang head na siya snout. So, ano siya ang snout? Ang nares, which are also known as nostrils, and they breathe through it. So, duha ka small openings on top of the snout siya. So, bali, masyik ilong. And next is the eyes, of course, kay used to see. It has upper and lower eyelids and a nictitating membrane. So, what is a nictitating membrane? A nictitating membrane is a transparent covering of the lower lid. It lubricates and protects the eyes to help the frog see both in land and water. Okay, next kay ang brow spot, which is only seen in frogs. So, the brow spot is a vestigial eye located between the eyeballs of the frog. So, bali na siya sa tunga, sa eye. Yeah. Okay, next is the tympanic membrane. It is the visible eye like kanang nasa gawas nga eardrum sa frogs. So, it is a circular area behind each eye. It transmits sound waves to the middle and inner ear, allowing frogs to hear both in land and in water. So, murag mabungol ba ata ka na mo ato ta sa connect to anang dili klaro, but the frogs makaduog sila klaro both in land and in water. So now let's go to the trunk. Okay, so the trunk has the anterior half and the posterior half. Again, the anterior is the katong sa front na part. Again, the anterior is this part, and then the posterior is this part. For the anterior half, okay, we have the chest region or the thoracic region, where poison or parotid glands are located. Kaning parotid glands kay wala na siya sa frogs. Ang parotid glands kay ang external skin on the back and shoulders of toads that secrete a number of milky alkaloid substances known collectively as bufotoxins that act as neurotoxins to deter predation. So, mana ilang pang defense. Okay. So, ang posterior half kay divided siya into two. The abdominal region, which is the ventral portion, katong dire, ventral portion. So, diba, posterior half man, the ventral portion here. And then, also the lumbar region, which is the dorsal portion, so here. So, the pituitary, okay, we have the anus, the small opening at the end of the trunk where water comes out. So, diha mo gawas, no. Yeah, sacral hump, okay, which is here. So this was sa frogs kay nanas lay ana diri. Ching, mo siya hop kay sakra hop siya. Yes. So it is produced by the protrusion of the pelvic girdle. Okay, so now we're done with the axial region. Let's go to the appendicular region. So the appendicular region is divided into two, the forelimbs and the hind limbs. Let's get iceberg again. Forelimbs kani diri sa frog, yung hind limbs diri. Okay, let's padayon. So ang forelimbs sa atong unahon. The brachium is the upper arm, and it is the first segment attached to the trunk. Brachium, yes. The antebrachium is the middle forearm, which is the next segment immediately below the upper arm. So, balik, connected just sa upper arm. The carpus is the wrist sa mga frogs. It is next to the forearm. So, diba? Brachium, balik. Brachium, antebrachium, then the wrist. Then the manus, I don't know how it's pronounced. Okay, it's the hand of the frog. Nana siya 4 digits. Digits are also what we know as fingers. So, upat ra na siya ang sa forelimbs. Ang prepollux, kay ang rudimentary or not yet developed na first finger sa frog. It is a shorter stump on the inner side of the hand. So, bali, mo siya. Dili kay siya develop. Okay. Rudimentary man. Charot. Okay, let's go to the hind limbs. Hind limbs. Okay, so the hind limbs are composed of the thigh, which is the first segment attached to the body. Ang shank, or what we also know as crus, it is the segment immediately next to the thigh. Ang tarsus, which is the ankle, is the segment immediately next to the shank. So, bali, sumpay na to siya. And the pes is the foot. Okay, muna siya ang part of the limb na distal to the tarsus. It has 5 digits. Digits is toes. Digits can be fingers and toes, but sa hind limbs kay toes siya. So 5 digits. Ang pes kinana siya web. So the web is the membranous extension of the skin connecting one toe to the other. It assists the frog in swimming by creating more surface area, allowing the frog to apply more force against the surrounding water. So, mas sayon siya ilangoy. Kaya siya web. So, the prehallux, pareha sa katong naa sa forelimbs, kay prepollux man to. So, prehallux sa hind limbs, kay it is the small sixth toe and can be missing in few frogs or toad. Okay, so now let's go to the experiments sa external anatomy of frogs and toads. So first is to get a preserved frog from the stockroom counter. Additionally, allow the laboratory personnel or the instructor to euthanize the live toad. So since wala man taan it's sad. But from the previous experiment, we were allowed to see the difference of the frog and the toad. So, bale, mo na siya ang picture. Okay, so mo to siya, di ba? So, put the two specimens on the dissecting pan. Kato siya, dissecting pan na sa to atong kipatungan ato. But, wala ta naka-dissect. And it's sad. But it's okay. So, next, kay observe and compare the two microscopic specimens externally. So, mo na siya ang atong na-observe last time when we saw the frog sa katong dissecting pan. Okay, so the skin is smooth and slick sa frog and sa toad kay rough and bumpy. So the eyes are bulgy sa frog and sa toad kay naay ridge over its eyes. Ang hind legs kay long and used for jumping for the frogs. Sa toads kay short and usually used for walking and hopping. The body sa frog kay narrow and smaller compared to the toad. Kaya di ba kabantay mo, mas dako ang toad. Ang teeth, naay teeth ang frog. So, nasa sa vomerine teeth on the upper jaw sa frog. Ang toad kay wala siya teeth. Ang habitat kay wala siya na-observe but like based on the skin and whatsoever kay mostly in water ang frog. Ang toad kay mostly on land since dry man siya kanito smooth and slick. So, the frog has a brow spot and a sacral hump, while the toad has a poison or what we call parotid gland. So, muna siya ang ilang difference. Now, let's go to the similarities. So, the frogs and toads are both amphibians, and they have no external scales, and their head and trunk is joined in a broad, depressed body. Wow! And they both have no tail, except if ganun, diba? Yan ang frog life cycle, okay? Naaman na tail ilang tadpole. But as the tadpole grows, kaya wala ang tail. Yes, nasa na siya scientific kada. So, wala sila tail, and they have short forelimbs and longer hind limbs. Kabantay mo, mas gamay ang mas-short ang naasa. Yeah, frogs have exposed eardrums or the tympanic membrane. Okay, so next is note the external differences of frogs and toads. Okay, so here's a photo of the difference of the frog and the toad. Charan! Yeah, draw and label the parts of the two specimens with proper magnification. Kana siya sa among experiment. Charan! Okay. Oh. Okay, so now manaman tag differentiate sa frog o sa toad. So now let's differentiate the male and the female. So ang first, ang sa male, kaya ang first finger is swollen during breeding season. So, muna siya swollen kay. Charan! Look at this picture. Oh, tungod ana. Yes. Usually smaller in size ang males niya, ang female kay bigger in size. So, muna siya ang ubang differences sa males and females. Charan! So, we have a few questions here sa atong lab journal. Okay, so atong first question is, why is a toad's skin loosely attached to its body? So, it is to protect the inner organs of the frog and prevent tearing. It is also because they carry gases. So, muna siya. Ang source na to ang quizlet.com. Yes. Okay, next question is di siya question. It's to give the function of the following parts. So, katong brow spot, katong nasa diri sa frog, it is distinct in frogs, and it is the vestigial eye represented by a white dot located between the eyeballs. Vestigial means last part of something that remains, that has existed before, and or can be the smallest possible amount of something. So vestigial eye siya. Next is the nictating membrane. So, as said earlier, the nictating membrane is the transparent covering of the lower lid, and it lubricates the eyes to help the frog see both in land and water. Next is the tympanic membrane, katong eardrum. So, of course, the purpose for that is to transmit sound waves to the middle and inner ear, allowing frogs to hear both land and water. And then, the parotid gland, which is the poison sa katong seen only in toads. So, muna siya ang poison to protect themselves from their enemies or their predators. Next, kay ang web. So, as said earlier also, the web is the membranous extension of the skin para makaproduce og more surface area, allowing the frogs to swim easily. Okay, so the next is the internal anatomy. So, karon mag-dissect na unta tag frog. Pero wala man. So, okay, so there's a note here to not attempt a dissection of the brain because this tissue is particularly fragile and difficult to work with. Okay, so number 1 is to get the newly euthanized toad rather, and fasten it ventral side up to the bottom of the dissecting pan by means of pins inserted through each of the 4 extended limbs. So, kung mo na siyang ma-imagine na ganaang frog, tapos ipin ang mga limbs. So, ventral, which is Yes, the ventral. So I'm up front. Yes, okay. So raise the skin from the ventral surface with forceps and make a longitudinal incision through the mid-ventral parts of the body wall, from the pelvic region to the tip of the lower jaw. Okay, next is to cut and either remove or spread using pins the skin of the toad, and the ventral muscles of the toad are now exposed. Okay, next is to spread the body wall to the side by cutting across the body wall posterior to the forelimbs and anterior to the hind limbs, and posteriorly cut the rectus abdominis muscles longitudinally near the midpoint. And do not cut along the ventral line. This is the linea alba, and below it is the abdominal vein. So cutting this area will allow the blood to spread over the specimen. So the line alba is kanang sa tunga sa frog kani. Charan! And the ventral abdominal vein is a blood vessel attached to the abdominal wall. Kaya siya. Yeah, I marked that red. Okay, so continue cutting posteriorly until the pelvic region has been reached, and here cut along the sides to create flaps to expose colemic cavities. Then pin the skin and muscle flaps to the dissecting pan. Now observe and study the internal organs of the macroscopic specimen. Use your forceps to manipulate the structures in order to better observe the other organs that are situated below. You may also remove the fat bodies in order to achieve this. These are yellow to orange finger-like structures that store energy in forms of fat, and only found in male toads. So, muna siya. Fat bodies! Okay. So, cut the stomach lengthwise from the anterior to the posterior region and empty its contents in order to see the inner lining. Then, observe. Label the internal organs of the toad rather, and provide the proper magnification. So, mo to siya ang last part. So, karon kay mag-imaginary dissecting na ta sa atong frog and mag-label ta sa parts and its functions. So we have the visceral organs. The visceral organs are divided into two: the pericardial cavity and the pleuroperitoneal. Wow! Pleuroperitoneal cavity. Sakto ba ito pronunciation? Right, sakto lang. Okay, so the pericardial cavity is basically kanang cavity sa ato ang sa ilaha di ay kay sa frogs man. Heart area. Yeah. Ang frogs kinara sa tulo ka kanang divisions. Kaya diba ato kay left atrium, right atrium, left ventricle, right ventricle. Ilaha kay tulo ra, which is the left atrium, the right atrium, and the ventricle. Mora na ilaha. So, ang pericardial cavity has the heart, or holds the heart rather, and is enveloped by two transparent membranous tissues, and as I said earlier, kay tulo ra ka chambers. And then the heart's left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the lungs, and it is carried by the pulmonary veins. Next is the right atrium. It receives deoxygenated blood from different organs and is carried by the vena cava, the precava, and the postcava. Charot. And the ventricle. So, diba? Left atrium, right atrium, ventricle. So, the ventricle is a cone-shaped, and it receives both oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, both from the atrium. Okay, so now let's go to the again. Okay, now let's go to the pleuroperitoneal cavity of the frog. So, it is the body cavity where most of the organs of the body of the viscera are suspended by their respective mesenteries. So mesentery is a tissue that holds the body organs. So a viscera is okay. So the viscera is an internal organ of the body located in great cavity of the trunk proper. So mo to siya. Okay, so let's go to the lungs. So the lungs are duha ka lungs ang ato ang frog, and it is the primary organ for breathing. Na siya dagko but nipis nga sacs and can be seen inflated or collapsed. Next is the liver. It is the largest gland in the body. So it is reddish brown in color. It's divided into three lobes: the right lobe, the left lobe, and the median lobe. So the liver is in charge of the production of bile, and it is also in charge of filtering toxins and chemicals. So the gallbladder are small rounded sacs, and it is used for the storage of bile, same as ato. And it is located in the ventral surface of the median lobe of the liver. Nya na stomach. It is a bag-shaped, muscular, slightly curved sac. It has two regions, the cardiac region and the pyloric region. The cardiac region is wider, and it is located in the anterior portion which joins the esophagus with the stomach. And the pyloric region is the posterior region located near the pyloric sphincter. Ang stomach can secrete siya ang chemicals or substances that aid in chemical digestion and mechanically breaks down food as well. And it stores food and controls the rate of passage of food to the small intestine. Next kay ang small intestines. So the small intestines are long, narrow, coiled tubes, and it is divided into two. Sa ato divided into three, but sa frogs kay two ra. So duodenum is the anterior portion and the ileum is the posterior portion. Now, the small intestine is in charge of the digestion and the absorption of nutrients. So now let's go to the pancreas. The pancreas is a long, thin, irregular, and yellowish organ sa frogs. And it is suspended on the lesser omentum or the gastrohepatoduodenal mesentery. So mesentery is a tissue located in the stomach, the gastro, liver, hepa, and the small intestine duodenal. So gastrohepatoduodenal siya na mesentery. The mesentery is considered an organ. So tissue, organ. Basta kay something na siya nga, ay mo na siya ang hold sa mga organs intact sa atong body and sa body sa frogs. Okay, so the large intestine is straight and not coiled, unlike the coiled small intestine. So, kuha na siya kanang usually dark colored tube, and it is continuous with the smaller intestine. And it ends at the anus, pareha sa humans. Like, after ang kuhan. The large intestine solidifies the waste product by absorbing the water and storage of waste products. So, tanaw ako video on the digestive system of humans. Makita mo dito sa difference or similarities with the frogs. Next, the urinary bladder. So, it is a membrane-like BioLab sac, and it is ventral to the posterior end of the large intestine. Okay, next is the spleen. So it is a rounded dark red gland, and it is embedded in the mesorectum. So the mesorectum is the mesentery which suspends large intestine to the dorsal body wall. Next, ang kidney. So the kidney is the flat elongated organ and which is dark brown in color. So, ano siya ang kidney? Charan! The kidney is in charge of the filtration of body fluid and the reabsorption of essential ions and nutrients, and it regulates acid-base balance and electrolyte concentrations. Okay, so the next is the fat bodies. As I've said earlier, yellowish siya niya, finger-like. It is also known as corpora adiposa, and it is attached to the interior end of each testis. So, makita rin siya sa mga male toads. So, now we have the gonads. The gonads are the ovary, the oviduct, and the testis. So, ang ovary, oviduct, kaya masinira na siya sa females. Yung testis is sa males. Ovaries, only seen in female toads. So, it is dark organ. It is a dark organ that is filled with eggs sometimes. So, kung ma-fill siya og egg, kay mo darken siya. Nya, mas ting na siya something niya. Nya, if wala siya egg kay small siya niya, flattened, then pale and irregularly shaped siya. If wala siya eggs, like wala pa nag-produce og egg ang pangadata. Nya, it is attached to the ventral surface of the kidney. So, pareha sila position sa testis, which is in males. Nya, sa females kay ovaries. So next is the oviduct, and is also seen in females. These are paired white coiled tubes. So it is lateral to the kidney, and it is again only found in females. Next, the testes, and singular form for testes is testis. These are only seen in male frogs, just like the humans, not sa males. And it is a pair of oval or elongated cylindrical yellowish bodies or organs diha sa frog, and it is lying on the ventral surface of the kidneys. Oh, na siya. Kilid sa kidneys. Charan! Okay, so mao to siya ang atong internal body parts, body organs. So mao to siya ang external and internal parts of frogs. So next exercise or next activity will be the respiration and breathing, and we will still also be dealing with frogs as well. So see you sa next vlog. Bye! Okay, bagi pa ako script. So the liver is in